Wife of 5 years cheated, and now I feel absolutely nothing for her. Nothing. And that scares me, with updates. Here are the main points. My wife, 34, and I 32. Wendy met via friends 7 years ago, dated for 2 years, and have been married for 5 years, just after I finished law school. For the first 2 years of our marriage, I worked as an associate at my firm, putting in 60 hours a week. That hard work has paid off, and I'm doing well professionally. Wendy was a teacher at a private school before we married, but she resigned to pursue her master's degree in education and is now enrolled in an educational doctorate program while working part-time. This was a bit of a financial burden since I wanted to pay off my college debts as soon as possible, but we made it work. When we first began dating, my wife was using an ancient laptop. It was in a box in a closet, which I discovered. She said that it had crashed and would no longer function. I plugged it in and attempted to turn it on. Nothing. Wendy took photographs of everything when we first met, especially selfies of herself with others. I ripped out the hard drive and went through it, knowing she had some images of us from that period. It seemed to be okay. The issue has to be someplace else. I waited until she went to go see her sister before plugging it into a SATA cable connected to my PC, wanting to surprise her with images from when we first began dating. There were photographs there. There are several photographs. Some pictures were of us on dates, laughing and smiling. They brought back a lot of happy memories. However, there were additional photos of her with other individuals. I recall one individual in particular. Bob was his name, and Wendy had dated him before me. There were several photographs of her and Bob. I wanted to take just our photographs, so I figured the simplest approach would be to categorize them by date, assuming that the most recent images would be of just us. However, when I sorted them by date, several of her photos with Bob were mixed in with photos of us. I started going through the images one by one and discovered that in a number of her pictures with Bob, when they were hugging and kissing, she was wearing a necklace/locket that I had bought her for her birthday the second year we were dating. I had to borrow money from my brother to purchase it. When I looked at the dates on the photographs, I saw a pattern. When she went to her mother's home or her sister's place to offer me peace and quiet on days and weekends, when school demanded my complete attention, she was up with Bob behind my back. I was enraged. It seemed like though fire ants were gnawing on my head, heart, and intestines. I was about to smash through the barriers when something broke and I felt numb. I started seeing and thinking in very cold, analytical ways. I transferred all of her photos, not just the ones I'd seen, on a flash drive. I packed a suitcase, got some suits, took the thumb drive, and drove across town to stay with my brother. I left her laptop hard drive to my PC, with a photo of her kissing Bob displayed on the monitor. The only reminder I left was a sticky note with an arrow pointing to the necklace/locket. Wendy called me from her mother's home, assuming that's where she was, but I didn't respond. It wasn't until a few hours later, when she likely returned to our apartment and saw the image on the display, that she bombarded my phone with VM and messages. They were all disregarded by me. I previously discussed separation and divorce with another associate in the family law section. We don't have any children or real estate, since most of our money was spent on repaying my student debts and paying for her schooling. My company has wrapped the wagons around me, so her calls are routed to VM. She is not permitted on the property. Security already turned her away. Wendy found me at my brother's home, but he told her over the phone that as she came over, he put his Dobermans on her. He said she was yelling, weeping, and pleading over the phone. It did not make me sad or pleased in any way. I didn't feel anything. My marriage has ended. That's something I've accepted. But it's been 2 days, and I'm still not feeling anything. There is no discomfort. There is no rage. Nothing. How is it possible that I no longer have emotions for her, that I have no one to see her again, that I have no desire to reconcile? Feeling nothing for her now that I'm alone with my thoughts frightens me. Is this something that will last? Is it possible that I'm still in shock? Is it permanent that I'm broken? On the plus side, I've never seen clearer answers in my instances. Update 1. I'm amazed by the nice reactions and want to thank everyone who has shared their numbness with me. It's comforting to know that this is a typical reaction. In the near future, I'll look into individual therapy. The employee at my firm who was managing my case, let's call her Gail, went through the other photos on the flash drive and discovered many where Wendy is cuddling/kissing Bob and the engagement ring I gave her is clearly visible. When I was informed this, I didn't feel any grief or resentment. Instead, I felt elated. I grinned. Surprisingly, I questioned Gail why this terrible news made me so joyful. She claims it's because it vindicates every action I've made since leaving. I've been NC with Wendy, and all communications have gone via Gail, with the exception of her relatives and friends, who incorrectly believe my brother and his wife would be sympathetic ears. They aren't. Gail has already created a separation agreement and has a meeting with Wendy arranged for Thursday afternoon. Gail informed Wendy that if she is not represented by counsel, I would not attend. Gail deserves a special mention. I can't give her a solid moniker, but if you imagine Pit Viper, you'll get the picture. I'm thankful she's on my side. We'll be submitting the divorce petition soon. Gail feels that any spousal assistance will be low and short-lived, i.e., she expects I'll be stuck paying the rent for the next 5 months until our lease expires and Wendy finishes the remainder of her PhD classes. Our sole big asset is a savings account for a down payment on a home, but it's a dual signature account with no ATM access. Thank you, long-forgotten bank person, for proposing it as an extra security step against fraud. When Wendy was meant to be at her part-time work, my SIL went over to my place to get more of my clothing and personal stuff. She ended up listening to Wendy for many hours. Wendy would lie about almost anything. According to the Redditor who stated so, Wendy was repeating one readily proven lie after another as SIL was packing away my belongings. Wendy, frustrated by the lack of progress, questioned SIL, "Isn't there a man in your history that simply gets into your skull and you can't say no?" So I suppose that's my explanation for why she cheated. Bob is a Jedi and Wendy is a, by the way. SIL did respond to her query, saying, "Yes, I married him. Spending time with my brother's family has helped me to feel less lonely. My nephews are destroying me at video games, and I'm loving every minute of it. Job is going well, and the partner in charge of my department came by to tell me that he is really happy of how I haven't allowed this personal situation interfere with my work. That's all I've got for now. Thank you to everyone who responded with encouraging comments. I can't express how much it helps to know I'm not the only one who feels this way, or how apathetic I am about my STBX that Wendy has found a lawyer, Todd. Gail and I met with them at another company on neutral ground. We all had to wear masks to be COVID, which made it look like we were there to rob the place or something. It was the first time I'd seen Wendy since she'd gone to her sister's place. Mother's Wendy seemed to be from hell. Bloodshot eyes, heavy bags under the eyes, her makeup had been stained by tears. Hives coated the skin of her neck. When I gazed at her, I felt nothing. More on that later. Wendy shouted out that she was sorry for everything, that she loved me, that she couldn't live without me, that this was all a mistake, all the usual nonsense.